Hey everyone, I'm Maya, and this is another episode of Talky Tidbits. Today, I've been thinking, well, not just today, but honestly, a bit of the week, thinking long and hard about the topic I want to talk about today, and that is faith. Just faith, religion, or feeling a connection in some way to something, I think, otherworldly, right? So, as I'm sure you, fellow listener or listeners, probably already know, there's many, many different kinds of faith in the world. But I've been thinking lately and had some deep conversations, and I've thought about it. It's like, if you look at it this way, it'll make sense a little. I think now that all kinds of faith, no matter what differences they have with each other, they all seem to tie back to one thing, to try to explain why we're here. What do we do now that we're here? How did we get here, right? And I feel like for a lot of religions, so Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, Islam, all those other faiths, lots of different faiths, I feel they all have a connection to a God in some way, right? And I'll admit, I'll give a little backstory. Well, I used to kind of feel neutral, I guess, about having faith. Actually, it doesn't totally make sense. How can you feel neutral about it, right? But when I was younger, I used to wonder if there was a God, and I honestly remember that when I was younger, I would think about all the nature that I saw around me, and I would think, surely there must be a God, because all these wonderful things that we can see around us, right? I mean, yeah, it's biology, but that had to start from somewhere. And I've also been thinking it over lately that it seems a lot of times people believe that science and religion clash with each other. Well, I'll tell you this. My younger sister, when she was little, well, if you get my drift, basically, she was little, I asked her about how she felt about religion. And I asked her, do you believe there's a God? And she said she does. She said she believes there is a good God and there is a bad God, right? So those are the two kind of opposite forces. But she said that she believes the good God watches over us and tries to help us see how to make good choices. And then I asked her, and now please note, this is when she was really little, say 6. So I think her words were pretty on spot because we never really discussed that topic much before, so it felt like a really insightful conversation. So I asked her then, I said, sometimes people might think science doesn't go with religion. Some people might think that they clash too much, they go against each other too much. She said, I don't think science and religion go against each other. She said, I think they work together because, well, she went on, but the point is, after she said that, I realized it's yeah, that does make sense. You think about it. I did a little research the other day. It's pretty cool, I think. A lot of famous scientists had some kind of spiritual connection, Gregor Mendel, the Austrian monk who conducted the pea plant experiment that created a foundation for our understanding of genetics, or Albert Einstein, the famous physicist known for his theory of relativity, right? Just because you believe in science doesn't mean you don't have to believe in faith, or vice versa, right? And it also reminds me of this college event I went to when I was maybe 13 or 14 or something. Basically, I was younger, and it was an engineering program event, and we got to listen to students talk about their background and their field of study. And one thing I still remember is that one of the first girls to introduce herself about and talk about her engineering studies was a girl who said that she loves science, but she also loves Jesus. And that's the first time I felt like maybe those two don't actually cram each other. Maybe they don't actually cancel each other out like is so often associated or regarded in nowadays society. So, honestly, and I've given it more thought, and actually, for the last few months, things have kind of been a bit challenging for me. I don't need to go into the details here, but the point is, I've been going through some challenging times recently, and I actually found that I was able to find my faith in that process, and honestly, I feel very grateful for it. Now, I think about it just because I feel truly like I've found that I'm connected, that I'm committed to this faith now. Just because of that doesn't mean that I denounce science. And just because I'm a biochemistry major who wants to be a scientist, it doesn't mean I denounce religion either. Because I think through faith, you get this spiritual aspect of things. I think you learn to look at things not for just the logic that proves them, but for the things that maybe can't be proven by logic, at least not yet, right? I mean, there are so many things in this world that happen that we cannot yet explain. And I think that fate is helping me also to learn who I am as a person. It helps me better define my morals. You know how they always say that you should always know yourself first before you try to be in a relationship with somebody? Because you can't expect someone to love you if you don't love yourself, and vice versa and all that. Well, I feel that faith is like the light at the end of a tunnel when you aren't sure of where to go from here, or when you're not sure of yourself, or maybe you have some kind of idea of the things you believe in, but I think faith helps you better define those morals and make them clearer to yourself, so that, say, by the time you're older, you know so much more about yourself, and in turn you know what kind of values that you cherish in a person and what values you don't cherish. So like me, for instance, I've realized that I value having meaningful, deep conversations with people. I think that really helps both of us involved grow in the process. And at the same time, what I also value is, justice, truth, right? I value compassion, kindness, having a moral compass, so that I always tell my sister this, especially since she was little, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should, right? I mean, we all have ways that we can or can't do something. But I mean, I think of it this way. I could go shoplift something somewhere, right? I could, but should I? No, right? And I think these are values that don't change, right? I mean, stealing was considered a terrible thing hundreds of years ago, and it's still considered a terrible thing now, right? Because there is a kind of morality or lack of morality that is associated with that action. And I think through faith, you learn to better distinguish between those two, between what is moral or what is not moral. And I think it's not so much a sense of what is against the law or what an important leader supports or opposes. It's a matter, I think, of how you feel deep down. I mean, if you've ever, maybe you've had this kind of experience where you have like that gut feeling, right? Like that internal feeling of whether or not you should do something. I think we all feel that at some point, whether or not we realize it. Like, I don't know, like if you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing, you probably feel some kind of tinge of like a gut feeling that this is wrong and you shouldn't be doing it, right? So you have that kind of conscious level of a moral compass inside you. I think faith helps you better learn how to use that moral compass and keep it with you through life. And honestly, fate has given me hope. There have been many times in the last couple of months when I felt extremely hopeless, that I felt things were not going to get better. But then I decided to change my perspective, change my attitude, and become committed to my fate. I feel like I've genuinely felt enlightened by it, that I've finally found it. And honestly, I felt a lot more at peace with myself and the world around me because of that fate. There have been days that I feel like I'm not getting enough done, right, because I'm a university student. I feel like I'm not getting enough done even though I've been working like all day. But then I tell myself, I need to have faith that things will get better. I need to believe in God and just trust that He will show me the way, right? It's not the kind of words I would normally use before, right, because I wasn't totally committed or dedicated to my fate yet. But now that I am, it just feels very uplifting. And honestly, now that I think about it, I know this is just off on a tangent a little, but I wouldn't be surprised if people that are committed to a fate are genuinely more at peace or happier than people without a fate. Because I think eventually at some point we all find some kind of moral compass. At least I hope we do. But I think it's at that point you can really learn to appreciate what's around you, the nature, the people around you. Right now, as I'm talking about this in my bedroom, I hear a bird chirping outside, and I just think to myself, that is amazing. I get to hear that every morning. It's such a miracle. And tying it back to science, you think about it, the Big Bang Theory, I believe in that too. But I can also believe in fate because if you think about it, like my sister said, they work together, I think. Because basically by the Big Bang Theory, we started out with virtually nothing, and then out of nowhere, stuff just started growing and expanding, like planets and stars and all that. But then it always begs the question, how did we get from nothing to just boom, right? And that's the thing about the Big Bang Theory. It's a theory. And in science, theories are never proven. They're only built upon. They're only, delved into deeper, right? But you can't prove it. You're never going to be able to prove it. It's just a theory. It's constantly changing or being altered in some way because of whatever knowledge or information we come across. So, that being said, it stands to reason that there could be a spiritual aspect to this whole phenomenon as well, I think. And another thing, you think of how complex we as humans are, right? Organisms, how we're multicellular, we have complex biological processes and all that. But, you think about how life started and you think of really simple single-celled unicellular bacteria, right? And how do you, just try to process that for a minute without overthinking it. Just think, how do you go from very simple organisms and over time, they evolve and they grow and all that, and then you get people. You get not just people, but just very complex living things. And I think there's a spiritual reason for that too, because, it can work together with the science. If you quit thinking it as the antithesis of religion, if you stop thinking of science as the antithesis, as the antagonist of religion, then I think you can really begin to see the beauty of both, right? We don't know everything in science either. We're still learning. And I just feel that fate can help you learn more about who you are. And if you've ever had those experiences in life that you feel just can't be explained, but somehow they just amazingly happened, I I truly believe that could have a spiritual reason as well, a faith-related reason as well. I mean, like one of my best friends right now, right? Basically my soul sister, I guess you would call it. I mean, what are the odds that she and I would become friends because we both happen to like the same music? We both happen to understand, like among the languages we speak, we both happen to share two. And what are the odds that we would like have the same like taste in clothes or hats or music or movies or, I mean, because I know me. And the kind of music I listen to, you can bet no one in my proximity is going to know that music. But, I mean, I just feel like it just came at a really strange time. It was right after Thanksgiving and, you know, all that. But I just feel it's a miracle. I mean, and as my friend said, it's often said basically that, you know, people tend to say that miracles don't happen, but I mean, it's a miracle. So I feel extremely grateful, and I feel extremely thankful to my fate and to God that this kind of experience came into my life. I feel like last year, 2020, was a very tumultuous year. It was a year of changing perspectives. It was a year of, you know, hard times. But I feel like with this year, 2021, I feel like if everyone has a year that they call, like, this is going to be the year I'm going to own it or whatever, I don't know. But I feel like this could be the year that, for me anyway, I feel like I'm taking a step forward in the right direction for the better instead of for the worse. Because I feel now I'm starting off stronger than I thought I could be. And I am forever grateful for that. There are so many things to be grateful for. And I feel that with fate, you kind of renew yourself. You kind of renew the things you believe in. And you learn to enjoy life more because you're consciously being more grateful for things, right? So I've kind of rambled on about this, but I just feel like this is something deep and meaningful that I could talk about today. So hopefully maybe you got a little insight out of that. But until next time, I'm Maya, and this has been Talky, Tidbits, out.